Hello, I'm Philip Elmer. Today I want to tell a short story, a story about the evolution of an automation. It's about how the implementation of a fairly simple request has changed over time. I'll describe 5 iterations. The story should be an inspiration for you on how to build automation solutions. Let's dive right in and start with the simple request. It is about starting an AWS instance of a specific image, that is, start a virtual machine in the cloud. And then the IP address of the newly started instance should be sent via email to a specific mail list. In order for the first part, the starting of the instance, to be easy, the requester supplied a script that only needs to be called by Atomic with certain parameters. The first parameter is the name of the image, which is a fixed value. The second parameter is when the instance should be automatically stopped again. According to the requester, the time should always be 24 hours after the activation, so the VM should run for 24 hours. I have implemented this request quite simply. A job that calls the script with the parameters and a notification object, also known as a call operator, for the email. The email should contain the IP address. Conveniently, the script provides just this as output. The job is a simple Windows job with only a few settings. It has an agent and a login, of course. It has a few lines of scripting, with the first script block calculating the time 24 hours from now. The second block then calls the provided script. And the third and biggest block is error handling. Of course, I do not use preprocess report, but register variable to get the IP address from the job output to the Atomic system. In the post process, there is only the publish command to pass the IP address when the script has run successfully. The notification contains the recipient and the message, and the message also contains the IP address. It comes from the object variable from the job. So the solution is done, of course built on a development system, and now it should be transported to production. And here's the first challenge. Of course, the agent, the login object, and the recipient are quite different on prod than on dev. We could change the values. I could change the values while it is transported to prod. This used to be a common procedure. Nowadays, these configuration values are more likely to be stored in a configuration object, and so I store these values in a static var object. And how do you read the values from the static var in the object? Scripting with getVar is one option, but I prefer curly brackets, so I do it this way. On dev, I have the solution built into a small test workflow. On prod, the 2 tasks, however, should be integrated into the context of an existing larger workflow. No problem, that should work just fine. And so my lean solution runs for a while without any problems. Then, one nice day, my job fails. During the analysis, I noticed the AWS image, the specified parameter, is no longer correct. So I asked the business department what's going on. The specified image ID is suddenly wrong. I called the department. The lady there is called Belinda. B like Belinda, B like business department. Easy to remember. So that's how the phone call went. Hello Belinda. Hello Philip. Belinda, the AWS solution failed because of a problem with the image ID. It says the ID does not exist. Yes, I know. I changed that myself. But you did not notify me about the change. Oh, sorry. The image ID has changed. I'll send you the new one by email. Sorry again, Philip. Alright, no problem. Before you hang up, one more question. Will this happen more often, that the ID changes? Nothing is planned in this regard. Okay, thanks. Ciao. So nothing is planned, but I better not rely on that. How do I best solve this? To remedy this particular failure, I have no other good option but to change the value inside the job and then to rerun the job as an emergency change, so to say. But that's not a sustainable solution if the image ID changes again. Anyone who knows me already knows what this is all about. I'm going to rebuild the solution and add a prompt set. Add a prompt set to the job. It contains the image ID. And if the ID changes without notification, then the operating can rerun the failed job and adjust the image ID by putting it into the prompt set for the rerun. And that was my second iteration. And again, the workflow runs for a while without any problems. Then there is a change. In the workflow in production, there are 5 new jobs that are added. It has nothing to do with me. I don't really care because my objects already ran in the workflow together with other objects that are not mine. So the few additional objects shouldn't hurt, right? But as soon as the new jobs are in, mine suddenly start to go crazy. Wrong IP address in the email and stuff like that. So I get back to the error analysis. And I realize some of the newly added jobs happen to use the same variable name as me, as mine. All tasks use pset and publish like crazy and thus override my important IP address. Well, fair enough, I have to admit, I published the variable too. And that's why the other jobs also have problems with this variable. Solution, maybe new variable name. I could do that, only on closer examination I'm doing something here that I would never do in any script or programming language. I let the child element, here the job, override a value on the parent. That's a very clear anti-pattern. That's why the anti-pattern monster comes in and points a finger at me or at you. Anyway, I have marked the problematic statement in the code here. The register variable is not a problem because only an object variable is created for the job. It's the publish in the post process that's problematic. So I marked it in red. I decide that my job should by no means dictate to the workflow which variables and values the workflow should have. So on to the next redesign. My objects may no longer use publish or pset. That's because these script statements push their values from the bottom up, from the task level to the workflow, so to speak. Instead, the workflow should extract the values it needs from the job. This is done by using post conditions in the workflow. In my case, it is the IP address that is pulled out of the job by the post condition. The IP address can then be passed on to the notification object. The notification also gets a prompt set, and the workflow passes the value to the notification. This is the only way to ensure that the workflow can decide on its own variables. The notification object uses the prompt set to define to the outside world which input parameters it needs. If the workflow wanted to inherit the value to the notification at this point, then the variable would have to have the same name for the variable as the workflow, and in the same name in the notification in the workflow. But since the value is passed on using the prompt set, the workflow does not need to know anything about how the notification works. So the prompt set is the better solution. I feel like I'm done with my solution, but then the business called. Hello Philip, Belinda here. Hello Belinda. Philip, we sometimes need a spontaneous ad hoc execution of the job on demand. That shouldn't be a problem, Belinda. Just call the operating and they will do it. Yes, but the cloud instance from the ad hoc execution is supposed to run 48 hours, not just 24 hours. Another value for the stop time parameter, no problem. I'm thinking of a solution. One more question, is it then always 48 hours or can the duration still change in the future? Nothing is planned in this regard. Alright, thanks, ciao. Nothing is planned. But I do not rely on that. The duration should therefore also be changed on request. No problem, just another value in the prompt set, right? But the default value should continue to be 24 hours after activation. But the job has two script lines to calculate that. The value for the stop time can thus come from the prompt set, or there's calculated default value from the script. A workaround to solve this could be whenever the prompt set does not pass a value, then calculate the 24 hours value, and otherwise take it from the prompt set. But I do not like that. if the parameter is set via PromptSet, then also the default parameter should be set via PromptSet. In addition, this workaround would cause problems at the 5th iteration, but of course I cannot know this at this time. So anyway, what I want is the default value of the PromptSet should be the calculated 24-hour time. How do you set the default value in a PromptSet to a value calculated by scripting? Have you ever wondered what you need the bearer object type exec for? This is a classic use case for it. So the script line or lines go into a specific script object referenced in the var exec. And the var exec is referenced in the PromptSet with curly brackets. This is how the solution looks after the 4th iteration. And again, I think I'm done. And again, the phone rings. Hello Philip, this is Belinda. I thought so. The solution with the AWS instance is a complete success. So we have some more use cases for it. We need to reuse the solution on other clients, other systems. There are 5 more interested parties. Very cool, Belinda. I'm preparing everything. One question. Will it stay with the 5 or will there be more? Nothing else is planned. Alright, thanks. I'm getting to work. Ciao. I better assume that it can be more than 5 reuses, right? So when I look at my solution so far, I feel like it's pretty reusable already. If a solution is to be reused, then my requirement is that the new customer only needs to install the solution, set up the configuration for it, and then they're done. And if I change something in the object, for example, incorporate new features or fix errors, then the objects can be adopted by all. And it works because nobody ever changes or adopts the objects. Everybody just needs to change the configuration objects. From this point of view, identify a problem. Currently, the various configuration values come from 3 different places. Unfortunately, since the first iteration in which the configuration variable was introduced, I have not consistently entered the parameters in the config only. Let me visualize the problem a little differently. I remove the details so that you only see the object names. Then I move the objects on the display and paste the data flow again. Now you see on one side the config and on the other side the logic. Now you can see that the prompt set of the job has 2 problems. On the one hand, the hard-coded value of the image ID. No problem. I just save the image ID in the configuration var and reference the var in the prompt set. Done. Second thing is, the prompt set references the var exec for the 24-hour default value. This is problematic in that the default value cannot be changed via the configuration. So the reference has to be redirected so that it runs through the configuration var. That's not a problem. The configuration var points to the var exec, the prompt set of the job points to the configuration. A reference to a reference, so to say. That works, that's how it's done, no problem. And as long as the solution has a manageable number of parameters for configuration values, I prefer the configuration to be referenced in the prompt set and not directly the objects. This increases usability as long as the number is manageable. So this is my 5th iteration, the final one for this presentation. Let me briefly summarize the improvements in the objects during these various iterations. First, the object got a configuration var. I'll choose the configuration. In order to correct the image ID for reruns, if necessary, because the business forgot to inform me about the change, the job received a prompt. In order for the object to no longer depend on variable inheritance, the publish has been kicked out and the notification has received the prompt set. The value will no longer be pushed up by the task, but pulled upwards by the workflow. That's the 3rd iteration. In the 4th step, the parameter for the time frame, for the time when the instance should stop, had to be put into a prompt set. The challenge was the default value, which is calculated value, had to go through a var exec and reference via curly bracket. simple yet elegant solution. And the fifth iteration was separating configuration and logic, clean separation between configuration and logic in order to make it reusable, the whole solution. So this was my brief story of the evolution of an automation. I hope I managed to inspire you to rethink workflow design. My name is Philipp Elmer, and my goal is to increase your atomic knowledge.